It's officially confirmed on Pokemon Day that Ranked is coming to Pokemon Pocket before the end of March. And that is where the official information on what we know about Ranked stops. I want to make it very clear that everything else I'm going to talk about in this video is purely speculative based on the other systems that I'm going to be talking about and my own experience engaging with lots of these types of games over the years. That being said, if you want to dig on in and hear me talk about what could be coming to Ranked in Pokemon Pocket and what it could mean for all of us at home and give your feedback on in the comments down below, I'd love for you to hang out with me for a quick chat today. Let's start with the basics for people who aren't super familiar with these systems, especially how they tend to pertain to digital card games. A ranked system is a queue that you enter in the client that pairs you into someone else. The winner of that game typically gains rank points and they move up, and the person who loses either stays the same or occasionally moves down depending on how the system is structured. There will be various rungs or thresholds, kind of like bronze, silver, gold, or Pokemon will call them like Pokeball, Master Ball, Ultra Ball, or whatever depending on the system, where when you hit certain thresholds from your number going up, you'll get different in-game prizes. Generally speaking, in these systems, once you climb past a bunch of predetermined breakpoints collecting rewards, you'll make it to the top rank, whether it be mythic or legendary or whatever the system calls it, where you get a number next to your name typically, and you're directly rated based on your rank points against other people who are acquiring points inside of the same system. The devil is really in the details when it comes to how punishing or generous they can be with how much you have to win, or more specifically, how little you have to lose in order to find success. And what those details work out to be in Pocket, I think, is going to determine whether or not a lot of people enjoy this type of ranking or are going to find it incredibly frustrating. To give you some pointed examples of other common digital card games that I'm familiar with, Magic Arena is a game where when you're first starting off, it has one of the more brutal ranking systems. It takes you almost 50 hours of gameplay on average with a 70% win rate to climb from the base of their rankings all the way up to their mythic rank at the top. It's also one of the least forgiving on the climb along the way. Only the bottom 20% in bronze has no punishment when you lose games. For the second 40% after that, you need to be winning approximately 40% of your games to climb. And then for the last two rungs above that, you need to be winning a little over half of your games to be making any progress. And the more you win, the faster you're going to go. Now, I would be a little bit surprised if Pokemon Pocket, which has largely had a more casual focus compared to a lot of card games that I play, went with something this cutthroat for its ranked ladder. In particular, looking at Pokemon TCG Live's current ranking model is something that I would expect Pocket to be implementing something relatively close to. For those that aren't familiar, progressing up the Pokemon TCG Live ranked ladder, I think, is one of the most forgiving of any card game I've ever seen. To get into specifics, around 70% of their ranked ladder has no penalty for losing games, and it requires you to simply win 39 games over the course of the season to climb up that first 70%. The last 30% of the TCG Live ladder is also fairly forgiving as well, even when you start getting penalized a little bit. The first segment only penalizes you 20% for a loss compared to what you get for a win. The segment after that penalizes you 30%, after that 50%, and then the most punishing it can possibly be is you lose 60% for a loss compared to what you get for a win. When you compare this to the system in Magic Arena, for example, where the last 40% of their ladder expects you to win equal parts to what you're losing, i.e. it's penalizing you for a loss the same thing that you get for a win, and this system is far more forgiving, allowing a player who has as little as a 40% win rate to still make it to that top part of the ladder should they simply invest enough time playing enough games at this low win rate. So not only is the Pokemon TCG Live ranked mode one of the most forgiving of any digital card game I've ever seen, I wouldn't be surprised if Pokemon Pocket ends up being even more forgiving than that. Remember, the TCG Live client is what lets you play the same competitive format that's like the pinnacle of Pokemon TCG play that takes place at their Worlds tournament, and Pocket, in basically every decision point it's made in the half a year it's been out, has a hyper casual focus, and I think it's only natural to assume that their ranked mode is going to follow the same type of decision making process. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the way Pocket's ladder ends up getting implemented doesn't simply reflect the 2 PvP events we've already had in the client every booster pack season to start. Meaning there will probably be a significant portion of the ladder to begin with where there's absolutely no penalty for losses, similar to TCG Live, where you simply need to get your 45 wins essentially to collect the prizes and climb up through it. And then the next part of the ladder will likely be a little bit harder, having some penalty for losses, but that's going to be pretty comparable to the win streak event that we saw, where you might not necessarily have to win 5 in a row, but winning more in a row is going to get you some type of bonus to get you through those rankings faster, meaning you'll have a big longer chunk that's more casual and easy, just win games at your own speed, and then you'll have a secondary part where there's some downside to losing and it can maybe get frustrating if you hit a bad streak, but ultimately you're going to get through it if you just end up playing enough games. Regardless of how Pocket's ladder ends up being implemented, I think that last part of what I just said is going to be really, really important, making sure you're playing enough games. Something that is true across every one of these ranked ladders in any digital card game, regardless of how punishing or forgiving it is simply showing up and playing games is a really important aspect of finding success in it. One of the things to remember is that these ladder systems, generally speaking, aren't designed to measure player skill so much as they're designed to create player engagement. This is why a lot of them end up being more forgiving, because they're encouraged to let you simply play the game more, and if the systems are appropriately punishing in a way that truly measures skill, it discourages people from playing, especially at the top, because once your rating gets to a certain point, if you're risking punishment for losing, you're better off just sitting on that ranking as opposed to playing more and trying to push that number higher. For people who aren't familiar with my experience in these ranked ladders, talking about the volume of play that's required to get to the top, I'm someone who's been single and double digit ranked in Marvel Snap and Magic Arena, which are the 2 games I've invested the most time to in the past that have ranked ladders. And while I would say I'm certainly at least a little bit above average at both of those card games and others that I've played, my virtue of being at the top wasn't because I was, the 10th best Magic the Gathering Arena player in the world. I was just someone who was good at Magic Arena, who also had the benefit of playing it 40 plus hours a week for my job, which meant my number kept pushing up and up and up while I was winning games, while I was playing a lot of them. If you walk away from this video with one message or thing in mind, I would definitely have it be, as we add ranked into Pocket, I would encourage you to make sure you don't let it destroy your enjoyment of the game. While it's almost always fun when you're winning, these games have a ton of variance by design, and you're inevitably going to hit a streak of bad beats, whether it's while you're climbing up initially or when you're at the top trying to make that number bigger, and it's very easy to watch that number go down and have it hurt your love of a game that's supposed to be bringing you joy. So ultimately, remember, these are games that you should be playing for fun, and if watching that number go up is fun for you, I hope you have a great time grinding ranked. I'm almost assuredly going to be playing it on my stream, and I would wager my number is going to go up more often than it goes down as we play lots of decks and try and play them well. But also keep in mind that on those days where things go bad, it's still a game that you should play for fun, and don't let it negatively impact your mood if you can, or your enjoyment of the game overall. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think Pocket's ladder is going to be fairly casual and relaxed like TCG Lives, like I'm speculating here? Or do you think it's going to be something more than that, a little bit more cutthroat and competitive? I would love to hear why. If you're someone that's new to the channel and you enjoyed my musings on this topic, consider subscribing and coming back again. I do weekly data-driven breakdowns covering tournament information, daily deck highlights of lots of off-meta stuff that I'm always enjoying playing. And I'd love to see you back again sometime. If you enjoyed my musings today, be sure to smash the like button on this video to help it reach some more people. I appreciate you making it all the way through to the end, and I hope your next pack is an excellent one.